Hello viewers, welcome back to the Moose Mobile Auto Repair channel, and today we're working on a 2017 Toyota Corolla with the 1.8 liter engine, and today we are going to be replacing the lower control arms on this uh, because it's making a squeaking noise every time when you go over bumps. And the 2014 to 2019 Corolla with these generation years, they are very common for the control arm bushings to dry out or to dry rot. And so after when that happens, they start to make noise. Now you can spray some like silicone or some sort of lubrication to make the noise go away as a, a temporary band-aid solution, but uh, very shortly the noise is going to come back. So the only permanent solution for this is to replace the entire control arm. Now these control arms are not very expensive, so if you don't want to do the entire arm, you can just do the bushing here, the hockey puck style bushing, because this is what's making the noise. I'm going to show you briefly on where the noise is. And I also have a previous video on the diagnosis about this issue. So I will post the link up here on the screen if you guys want to watch that. So we are going to start on the passenger side for now, and then after we are going to be doing the driver's side. I'm going to show how to do the passenger side first. Probably not so much the driver's side. It's literally the same thing. You may need to lift the engine and or transmission. You may need to remove the engine or transmission mounts depending on which side you are working on. So anyhow, the control arm bushing for this one, this style is the one that makes the noise. So when I pry on it, it's making a lot of noise, and so that's the main reason as to why we are replacing it today. So I'm going to attempt to remove this bolt because I live in the Rust Belt. This bolt tends to seize more often, so I'll see if I'm able to get it out easily or not. I believe it's a 19. I'm not able to fit a ratchet in here, so you may need to lift the engine. I'll see if I can use a wrench first and see if I can get this out without lifting up the engine with a jack. So now I had a long extended wrench, but I'm not sure on where I put it. So this is just a standard 19 millimeter wrench. I don't think it's going to give me enough leverage, but we'll see. So what I did now, I used a jack and a block of wood to support the engine. Just jacked it up very slightly, not enough to damage the engine mount. You don't need to remove the engine mount. So this will allow me to fit a small shallow socket and a ratchet. So we'll see if I can break this through. I feel it's moving, so that's a good sign, because usually these bolts they seize up. So in case if I can't show you in the video, I do have another video in which one of these bolts were seized. So I used an induction heater to heat them up. So just keep on loosening this. There's a little bit of friction here. I think these bolts, when they are new, they come with a thread locker to prevent them from backing out if anything were to happen. I'm going to see if I can get an impact to remove it the rest of the way. So let's see if this works. I put a 19 shallow U-joint and an extension. I don't have enough clearance to I don't have enough clearance to get in there completely. May need to lift the engine up a tiny bit more. The oil filter housing is in the way. The socket is touching the housing a little bit. Jack it up slightly. Is going to tighten up the bolt a little bit so I can just get that socket off, and then I'll just use the ratchet the rest of the way. This is just to break the thread locker free because it keeps on skipping all the time. So it's gonna take you forever. If you're using a ratchet, you really have to use an impact to break that thread locker free. Otherwise, it's just gonna keep on going. It's going to take forever. So there's typically an initial amount of force that's required to break that thread locker free. Otherwise, you won't be able to get the bolt out. So that's why I have to use an impact. So it's a little bit, the bolt is a little bit in the way, but we may be able to pry and to get it out. I don't want to cause myself too much work, right? So I'm trying to do the minimum amount of work possible just to get the job done. So I removed the bolts for the engine mount. I'm going to show you in just a moment. I did it off camera. so I wasn't able to show you guys that. So we're just going to get this bolt out first, so it's not in the way of anything. So that's that for this bolt. If you want to replace these bolts, in case if the ones that you have are all galled up on the threads, like damaged threads, I will provide the part numbers for those shortly later in this video. So earlier in the video, I thought I would be able to get away with it without removing or loosening the bolts for the engine mount, but it's probably best and easier to do that. So what you should do prior is to have a jack in support with the block of wood just until the block of wood touches the oil pan, and then you should remove the bolts, because if you jack it up too far high, and then when you remove the bolts, it's going to shear the bolts, so you need to be careful. So what I did, I just removed the first two, and then you need to remove this one here in order to lift the engine up. You are not replacing the engine mount, so you just need to remove the 3 bolts, and then you would be able to lift the engine. I just removed 2 bolts, and I was able to lift the engine that way, but you're better off to remove the 3 bolts. They are 14 millimeters. Make sure the engine is properly supported, and then that's it. You should be able to get some clearance. You should be able to get some clearance, like a couple inches or something, so that the oil filter housing is not in the way. I'm going to be doing an oil change on this vehicle, so if I damage the oil filter or not, I'm going to be replacing it anyways. So yeah, so I got this bolt out, so we are going to continue and proceed to the next process, to the next step. Block of wood, you can just put it somewhere on the oil pan to support the engine, and then that's it. I was thinking I could get away with it by taking shortcuts, but unfortunately that's not the case today. So now you need to place a 19 mil wrench on top, just in the corner here, and then there's a 19 at the bottom. So I believe this is a 19. So you need to hold that wrench well so that it doesn't slip or come out. That's that. You can remove the nut from on top after you get the bolt out. We're going to clean the rust and stuff on the threads afterwards. So there's 2 nuts and 1 bolt, 17 mil for the lower ball joint. And after, you can just push or pull down on the control arm on however you are positioned. So once you're done, you can just try to get the control arm out. You may need to use a pry bar to pull it out. being careful to watch out for the CV axle to not pull it too far out away from the knuckle, because it will the axle can pop out of the transmission, so you need to be careful. So you just need to pry around to get this out. So the control arm is finally out. I just needed to tug onto it. It was stuck pretty good in there, so you can see the tear inside at the bottom of the bushing here. So you can see the tear in the bushing over here. You can see some cracks and stuff in the squeak. So I'm using the Moog lower control arms, aftermarket control arms. It came with the lower ball joint, but we are not replacing it. We are just keeping the original Toyota ball joints, because the original Toyota ball joints, they literally go forever. And so the aftermarket ones are relatively, and sometimes can be cheap, so you're better off just keeping the original ball joint that's on the Toyota vehicles. I've almost never had to replace one in the last 17 years I've worked on cars, and the only time I replace it is when, if the vehicle is very old, has over 300k on it, and I'm just replacing it because I'm doing like replacing the steering knuckle or something like that. But really, you can reuse the ball joints if there's no play in it or anything. So the Toyota ball joints, they literally, like as I said, they go forever. So there isn't really any point in replacing them unless you have a problem with it. This vehicle is only 130,000 kilometers, so you will most likely still see this original ball joint when it hits 330,000. Who knows? But I'm very certain that that these ball joints are just gonna go forever, because I've never really had to replace one. I've never seen one that had like play in it unless the vehicle is 30 or 40 years old. So in case if you live in the Rust Belt, I have replacement bolts. Replacement bolts in case if you need brand new bolts. Part number 90080111506. This is going to fit for a variety of model years, and in different Toyota models like the Toyota Matrix, Pontiac Vibe, other earlier generation Corollas. They use the same bolts, so that's the part number in case if you want brand new bolts. But these bolts are fine. There isn't anything wrong with it. So this vehicle was not too bad, because it's still a somewhat newer vehicle, but it's 8 years old now. So anyhow, we are going to continue with the replacement. So what I like to do is I like to use a little bit of grease to lubricate the sleeves inside the bushings, so in case that the bolts don't seize up in the future, if it were to seize up, because I live in the Rust Belt, so I grease pretty much every bolt and nut, because I don't want to have any issues if for some reason I need to replace the control arm again in the future. And I'm going to spray a little bit of this guy, fluid film, in where the subframe is. So I like to spray a little bit in here. You probably want to clean it out. Sometimes there are rocks that get inside here, rocks and there's dirt and debris. I want to clean it out. I just like to spray a little bit of the fluid film stuff to prevent rust, and also to make it easier to slide the control arm in. Spray inside here too. It's starting to rain now, so I need to hurry up to get this job done. So what we are going to do is to get this piece in first and to line it up before anything else. Now, I'm not sure if I'll be able to show you everything on camera, but I will try my best. Just going to try to get this in and line it up. This one is usually the hardest part to line up. So now this is usually the most difficult part. I'm still trying to line it up and using a punch of some sort to get underneath to line up the holes. It's hard to explain, but there's no like easy way around it. So I don't know how to explain it to you. You'll need to move the control arm up and down and in, and play with the bushing and stuff to get it in. It can be tricky sometimes. So basically, if you don't want to use a chisel or punch, whatever, drift chisel or whatever you want to call it, you can use a screwdriver to get in here, and you can push back and forth to line up the holes. I think I lined it up off camera just now, so try to see if you can line up the bolt from the bottom and on the top. You have to line up both to get it through, and then you should be okay after that. So you just need to see on where it is. You need to look at the bottom and on the top to see where it's lined up, and just adjust it then. So once you get the bolt through, you can place the nut on top so that it doesn't move after that. So now I was able to get the bolt through. I just I hand tighten the nut a few threads or so just to keep it in place. And we are not going to tighten anything up just yet until all of the bolts are in, because you want to support the suspension before you tighten up the bolts. You want to take the load off of the control arm before you tighten up the bushing. So it was closed, very close. Uh, it was lined up very close at the top. So I was able to top it in with the hammer. Uh, a tiny bit, and then it went all the way through. But you got to make sure it's lined up pretty much almost perfectly before the bolt will go through. Alternatively, you can use a channel lock at the bottom and on top to guide the bolt in, but sometimes that doesn't always work. But you can try. So what's next? We are going to do this side here. The weather is starting to get a little bit bad now. It just had started to rain a little bit, but it's not too bad yet. So anyhow, we are going to continue on to install the other part. Now, once again, the hardest part is this part to install back. It can be very tricky sometimes, so it just takes a little bit of patience and wiggling and moving the control arm up and down, left to right, and screwing around with it, because it can be troublesome sometimes. It's not easy, I will admit, but I've done it a million times now, so I'm used to it. So now we are going to do this one. So pretty much all of the Toyota vehicles that utilize this style suspension, it's going to be the exact same for all of the vehicles. The suspension over the years haven't changed much, but they did change after maybe 2020 or something like that. So anything 2019 and before, it's going to be the same for a majority of vehicles with this style design subframe and control arm. So this, you just need to play with it and to push it inwards to line it up. So it just takes a little bit of grunt work, trial and error to get it in. The issue is this is too much to the right. I'm trying to get it into the left so that the rubber piece here can slide in. It's too much to the right, so I need to push it to the left to slide it in. No, I just need to do it by hand. That's it. I'm just giving myself a hard time all this time. Just give it a few taps to get it in. Push it towards inside towards. You need to push it in so you can line up the sleeves. So what you can do is to temporarily put the ball joint in, push against the knuckle. That will be easier to get it in. Just temporarily put the lower ball joint in and just push against the steering knuckle to get the rest of the control arm all the way through. And now it's all the way through now. That gives you that allows you to give you some force to push it in. Line up the holes now. Almost lined up. It's not 100% lined up yet, so there you go. And push it against the knuckle. So now this bolt is in. I'm not sure why it didn't go in smoothly. I think the clearance between the sleeve and the bushing and the subframe in which you install this is very small, so it can be very tricky sometimes. I don't know if it's because it's an aftermarket part, but it's in now. It's in, so we are just going to snug the bolts first, and then we'll do the final tightening after we have the control arm supported. I just need to tighten this up now. I'll post the torque specs on the screen if you want to torque it. I think these things are no more than like 100 or 101 foot-pounds for all of them, but I will put the torque specs if you want to torque it. I put grease on the bolts, so you're supposed to reduce the torque specs by 20 to 30%, but really they're suspension bolts. If you tighten them down as tight as you can without over tightening it, then you should be okay. Just tighten it down a little bit snug, but don't tighten it completely yet, because after we're done, we need to support the suspension, because you want to unload the suspension before you tighten up the bolts for the bushings. Otherwise, it's going to premature the bush to wear out the bushings prematurely, because if you tighten them down in the loaded position, the bushings are going to wear out faster. Just going to tighten it down snug. I didn't tighten it down all the way, just until it contacts. And then now we'll reinstall the lower control arm to the ball joint back. Install the lower control arm, ball joint. Two nuts and one bolt. So now we're just going to snug the bolts up. It's 17. So at the moment it's raining pretty hard, so I had to temporarily stop the job. So I'm going to wait until the rain stops. Uh, it's supposed to call for thunderstorms tonight for a couple hours or something. So I'm not sure when, but I have to wait until the rain stops because it's too much now. So once the rain stops, then we'll continue back and proceed forward. There's a bird that recently built a nest here on the property and laid 3 eggs. I can't show them right now because the bird is on top of the eggs. So the bird has had babies. So anyhow, she's living here for now. So we're just going to leave it. And by coincidence, is on top of the floodlights. And so the floodlights is a source of heat. This is not LED lights, it's just a regular incandescent bulb. So the bird is just chilling there right now. And so just keeping the babies warm. So that's it. So I'm gonna wait for the rain to stop and then we'll continue afterwards. So these are the eggs that the bird laid. Basically, the bird built a nest here in like 2 to 3 weeks or something. Not sure, or maybe longer. So now the rain stopped. The sun is back out now, so I think it's okay to get back to work. So now the rain has stopped. We are going to torque the lower ball joints, the 2 nuts and the 1 bolt to 66 foot-pounds. So we are going to torque that. And then now we are going to support the suspension here with a block of wood and tighten these 2 bolts down. The through bolt over here is 101 foot-pounds, and the one in the back for the hockey puck style bushing is 93 foot-pounds. I'm just using a bottle jack just to support the suspension. We're probably going to support it on the lower ball joint end. You could use any jack, regular jack or bottle jack. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, on whichever works for you. I'm just using this because it's faster. It's going on an angle here, so you don't need to jack it up too much, just enough to take the weight off. So the rear one in the back is 93, and make sure you hold down the nut with the wrench to keep it in place. You want to tighten the bolt. You don't want to tighten the nut. So 93. the through bolt 101. Not able to get my torque wrench in there, so I may have to jack up the engine a little bit more. You know, 101. It's not on tight, so it's gonna take a while to tighten up from here. That's good. So now everything is all tight. You can lower the bottle jack, and what's left is we need to reinstall the bolts for the engine mount. So for the engine mount, we need to lower the jack a little bit until the piece contacts the frame. It's off of the frame at the moment, so until it contacts the frame, and then we can install the bolts. So I'm going to lower the jack now. Just until it contacts the frame, and then you can adjust it afterwards if you need to. You may need to raise it back up a little bit if you need to move the metal piece. And I didn't remove this bolt, but I may need to if I need to adjust it. So I install this bolt here by hand. Make sure it's threaded by hand first all the way. These bolts are relatively very sensitive, easy to strip, so you need to be careful when you remove and install these bolts. So once the bolts are all snugged up, you can remove the jack off of the engine, and then you can torque them down. I'll put the torque specs on the screen. You can just tighten them down just okay tight, snug, and that should be fine. We're all good to go for this side. We just need to do the driver's side next. This was the passenger side. Uh, I'm probably just going to show maybe a few clips for the driver's side. I'm not going to show everything, but that's pretty much uh, the process of doing this job. It's relatively the same thing, except that you may need to remove the transmission mount on the driver's side, but we will see. I'll show some clips uh, later on, and then that's it. So now the new control arm is installed, and you can see now there's no more squeaking noises. So just verify everything is tight, and then that's it. Reinstall the wheel. 76 foot-pounds for the wheel, and that's it. So for the driver's side control arm, you probably do have to remove the engine mount because the transmission pan is in the way of the bolt, so this bolt will not be able to come out. So you have to remove the transmission mount on the driver's side as well. These Moog control arms, they came with in a white box. That's the part number for the passenger side. I think the driver's side is the same, except except that the last number is a 7. And one other thing is that I didn't have any issues with the through bolt for this side, the driver's side. It didn't do the skipping of the thread locker. The other one still had a thread locker on it. This one, I think the thread locker was already worn out, so it came out easy without having to use an impact. So for the driver's side, it's much more of a challenge to remove the air box out of the way. Mass airflow sensor connector, 3 bolts holding this down, so remove that. And there are 4 bolts in total for the mount on the frame. 2 here, 1 here, and 1 here that needs to be taken out. It's a 14 mil. And you also need to get the engine computer out of the way, because the 1 bolt is going to be in the way when you try to take this out. There's not enough clearance for the socket and stuff. So 3 bolts for the engine computer. 1 on the side over here. There's 1 down there. And there's another 1 on top over here. So it's 3 10 mil bolts for that, and had the air filter out and everything. So that's that. I jacked it up as much as I could, but it's still not enough clearance, just barely. I may need to use a pry bar to clear the way for this bolt, because the transmission pan is in the way. So there won't be enough room to get this out. Just barely enough room to get this out now. So you may need to use a pry bar or something to pry and to get it out then, because that's as much clearance as it goes, unless you start taking all of the other mounts out of there, like the other transmission mount. There's going to be a lot of work to get that out. So I'll see on what I can do. I may be able to get this out by using a pry bar and prying, but I'll see on what happens. So for the driver's side, ultimately I have to remove the 2 bolts here, 14 mil for the other transmission mount, along with the transmission mount that's on top. And now I have clearance for the bolt to go through. So instead of like fighting with this with the pry bar, just remove both mounts. You don't need to remove it completely, just off of the frame, and then you should be able to get the bolt out after that. That's it. This is the hardest part of this job, is the through bolt, because the transmission is in the way. And so sometimes it can be a challenge. So that's the only way, because the top mount for this is not enough. You have to remove this mount too, because this is holding it back, so it won't allow you to move the transmission any higher than that. I did reposition the block of wood over here on the aluminum, but really it doesn't matter. You could use the pan or the aluminum block. So that's the only downside for these jobs. So it is quite a bit of work, but anyhow, it's out. So I'm just going to continue with the rest of the stuff. So these were the 2 bolts for the transmission mount. I already got the new control arm in. Everything is in. I just need to put everything all back together now. You can see that there's clearance for the bolt now. So there's lots of room, even if you want to put an impact there if you want. You can see the other transmission mount is 2 or 3 inches above the subframe engine support thing brace. So as soon as I lower this is going to sit down here on the metal. Then you can just reinstall the 2 bolts, and then under the hood is just the reverse of removal, and then that's going to be it. You'll need to get a wheel alignment after you're finished, and then that's it. So the two bolts here are two 14s. I will post the torque specs if you want to see them. You can just tighten these down snug. And once again, these bolts are very sensitive. The threads are very easy to strip on these, so make sure you are tightening them by hand first before you run them through. If you use an impact or on whatever that you use, just be careful. The same for the top engine mount bolts as well. So one last tip, if you're having a hard time trying to get that bolt, the one bolt down here, if you're not able to thread it in all the way or properly, you can go from underneath the vehicle, just behind the splash shield where the transmission is, and you can see the bolt over here. You can just tighten it up uh, from underneath if you don't want to do it from on top, and if you don't want to remove the battery and do extra work for no reason, and then you can just do it from here instead. I can just tighten up the bolt from here with a ratcheting wrench, and just do that in case if you're having a hard time. I will put the torque specs for all of these 4 bolts. If you want to torque them, usually I just tighten them down snug, and then that's good. So when you pry on the new control arm, there's no more noise. So that's going to be it for replacing the lower control arms on this 2017 Toyota Corolla. Just after you're done, take the vehicle to the alignment shop to have the vehicle aligned, because the alignment is going to be slightly out. So make sure you have that done as soon as possible. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please don't forget to give it a like, and please consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber, and please don't forget to hit that bell notification if you haven't done so. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day and take care.